That's correct. Uncertainty has continued to swell the conduct of next month's general elections, and civil society groups are speaking and doing one or two things that will amaze you. And to discuss our top story today, we do have the honor of the director of Move on Nigeria with us as we look to discuss some parameters by which we're judging and foreseeing and analyzing the February 14th, 21st and 28th elections. Thank you so much for staying tuned. Welcome. You are welcome to join us on Cool TV Nigeria, as well as our Facebook page, facebook.com/Cool TV Nigeria, and at GMNS Cool TV. You can also tweet at Eno_Alfred, at Zoe Chinaka, at Tolulokwe AB, and at Lerato Uma. Let's just quickly say a very good morning to you and thank you for coming.
Thank you so much.
Good morning.
It's my pleasure to be here. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Nigeria.
Yes. Now, civil society groups are known for lots of things. We know that they're involved in areas of economic empowerment, anti-corruption, and most recently, lots of civil society groups are involved in insecurity issues. They are plummeting those areas by which we can get a saner and safer society. And we cannot discuss how free, fair, and safe, like Anna would say, the elections would be without adding these parameters together and adding even the latest, which is the the plenty of threats that we're getting, especially the latest, which is coming from ex-generals. Well, let's start off with asking, but we know that if we touch upon security first, it would consume the whole of our discussion, so we'll leave that for later. Let's talk about anti-corruption and your stake in this as the director of Move on Nigeria. What do you foresee for the 2015 February 14, 21st and 28th general elections? What aches your heart? What makes you excited?
Oh, well, thank you very much for the question. I'm heading the publicity for the group. You know, the situation in Nigeria right now, and when you superimpose it with what the international community is doing or not doing, you know, what crystallizes out of it is blackmail. It is just plain, and if you look at it, you know, deep enough, what comes out is blackmail. And even before we start talking about election, we can start connecting some dots. Okay. Nigeria's problem started with the rebasing of our economy. Before the rebasing of our economy, any person that wants to invest in Nigeria is like, it depends on your appetite for risk. They didn't know what to expect. That was why some Vodacom was sitting on the fence when we were about to auction the GSM licenses. They weren't sure. It was the risk was too much. But with the rebasing, it was like rebasing of economy is like putting the data out there to justify any investment, to tell you that this is not a heavy risk economy, putting the detail out there to take away some of the risk that people anticipate when you're trying to invest. So rebasing the economy just showed us for what we are. When you look at Jumai and a few other people, last year they did about 1.4 trillion naira in transactions.
So it showed us that we were
it just showed us that, yeah, we're on the right path. But what happens is down, you know, I lived in America. I have a passport from them. But you know, when you look at what they did in Libya, the Arab Spring, and look at what's going on, you see, it's not, I'm not going to blame America, I'm going to blame Obama. It's Obama's administration not wanting to see Africa rising. That's what's going on here.
So
now you see,
it seems like you have a big expectation from the international community when it comes to how Nigeria handles
it's not just Nigeria. It's a global thing. It is when you see an emerging economy becoming strong, and it's not in anybody's interest. It's not in the interest of Obama administration that we are that strong. You want a dependent African nation. You want a nation. You don't want them to rise out of this poverty, you know, unindustrialized profile. So when we rebased, we removed the risk. You know, so people could now see that, wow, this is not. You can actually number and see, if I put in $1 billion, this is how much I'm getting.
In other words, are you saying that the international community have ignored us so much so that until they saw GDP being rebased, that was when they started, you know, giving us the attention that we did need? But would you say that they are giving us due attention, especially as the elections are around the corner?
The election thing is about, I mean, look at Buhari. look at his antecedents, look at his educational capacity, look at his team. It's all about, look at Libya. What happened in Libya? Before now, Libya was very prosperous despite whatever was going on in Libya. Despite what was going on in Libya, the economy was beautiful, enviable, employment was very low, less than 10%.
And you must be driving at a problem.
No. The problem here is that it's all about blackmail, trying to blackmail a government that is walking out of office because you don't want these things to happen. If you look at economic growth, I read something that Soludo wrote the other day, and I'm really disappointed. He said, oh, you judge indices of an economy by looking at the GDP. If you're looking at the GDP, before 2009, the Nigerian GDP was at 160 something billion. 169 billion.
Well, let's,
2013, our GDP was 269 billion dollars.
Let's bring it home a little bit, because of course we know the election is around the corner, and we can't, there's a certain amount of pressure you can put on the international community, but they will do what they will. So let's look at now. We have an election coming up, and we're talking about free and fair elections.
And safe.
Still free, fair, and safe. Let's still stick a little bit with the international community, because we read today, we know that the EU, they already have a presence here, some of their members.
They came to visit, they went and met with Amechi.
Yes.
What's going on? Why?
How will we even know?
Wait, because I'm reading it. My
question is, how can we even know that, the election will be free and fair when we know that there are places in the north that might not even have people voting? And if they don't vote, can we even talk about a free and fair election?
Number one, INEC is not ready. And they have to admit they're not ready. I mean, if you go by their 2012 reports, JEGA said August 2012 that by December 2013, the whole PVCs are going to be completely distributed. By December 2013, he moved it over to December 2014. By November 2014, he introduced 30,000 new votes, which will give us about 15 million new voters. And when they did their numbering, they validated 68.83 million voters. And the contract they issued to their contractor was to print 51 million voters card. So that means that we have almost 15 million cards that were not contracted to be printed. So what was Jega thinking? So if you take that 15 million cards that he didn't print and put to that 30,000 booths that he created in some strongholds of opposition, then you the picture start getting clearer. So Jega had an ulterior motive of having 15 million. I'm just saying that Jega is now, as at yesterday or last week, they said they've distributed about 40 million cards. Meanwhile, as at last week, they've distributed about 38 or 37 million cards. Now, that is, it took them 3 years to distribute 38 million cards. Now, Jega and his team is telling Nigerians that in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, they're going to distribute 30 million cards in 3 weeks.
It's
not possible.
Interesting that both parties, if possible, 14 parties are blaming INEC. But I have to ask at this point, who is INEC's boss again? Can somebody remind me?
It's called Independent National Electoral Commission.
He gets finances, he gets everything.
No, he doesn't get it really from
government.
It's a budget that is passed by the legislative arm of government. We have a three-arm, and when the budget, they propose their budget. It's not the government, it's not the federal. They are part of the federal arm, but they don't really take power from the federal arm. They take their power from the Constitution, and they get their money from the legislative arm. They go there, they do their lobbying, their budget is passed, and the budget is signed into law by the president. Then
the three arms working on INEC, couldn't they have called them to order and said, oh, you've got 4 years, what have you done with these 4 years? So who are we to blame here?
No, you have to, because these things are judged by milestones. When you're doing a project management, everything is based on a milestone. Then when you get to this milestone, moreover, you have to understand, just like, you remember a few years ago, last year, so when there was an issue between the central bank governor and the presidency, the issue became that, some people were saying, this guy is embarrassing the government. Why don't you sack him? You cannot. He's a tenured office. And until the tenure runs out, you can't really do anything until maybe a month before his expiration or 2 months. He can proceed on terminal leave. And that's the best you can do. But until then, if a head of an independent agency wants to embarrass you or do anything, you really can't do nothing.
If you're saying that INEC is ill-prepared for the 2015 elections, are you, in other words, saying that perhaps a postponement would be key at this point?
He did
especially
it in 2011.
with the reports. I mean, we've got threats, multiple threats, inciting statements looming over the elections right now. And then ex-generals saying that perhaps that might see democracy suffer.
No, ex-generals should not even talk. Any person in uniform or out of uniform should not even talk when democracy is being discussed. No, I'm not going to talk about the guys in uniform. I respect the army. I respect any person that has pledged to lay down their life to defend my nation. But if any ex-general that has been part of the reason why our democracy has been truncated, has been unstable all this while, we opened the other day, the Minister of Defense spoke and said, oh, General Buhari has a Cambridge. Even though he's part of the government, I feel that I am being scandalized.
But what if it's
General
not,
Guzo, look at it this way.
What if it's not an ex-militant? What if we are able to find out that whoever is elected into power wasn't elected in a fair and free way, and we're not talking about the militants at all? Then what should happen? Because we've heard of UK, there could be a parallel government set up, which
we're going to talk about
democracy. But what would the solution be?
We'll talk about that. But before then, I need to complete what I was saying about Guzo. Guzo has been the Minister of Defense for this long. He's been an NSA for this long. Since all his incursion in government, we've not had General Guzo. Hold on.
We need to invite the community to join this conversation.
Okay,
yes, please go ahead to facebook.com/CoolTV Nigeria. And you can, of course, call us on these numbers: 012778196, 012777196, and 012772196. You can ask Ike Chidolwe, the PR?
Yeah,
Public Relations Officer for the Move on Nigeria, a civil society group. And we're talking all things civil society, especially as it's building up to the elections. Ask your questions. You agree with us. You disagree with us. Let's talk about it. So back to Guzo.
Okay, I'm disappointed that after being in the government, in service of this government for this long, in and out, he has not made a single statement regarding the insurgency. Now, the first statement we're hearing from Guzo is about somebody's certificate. How does that stabilize? I mean, he's the head of defense in the country.
So and the like first thing,
I'm just like, it's like somebody has completely forgotten what his mandate and responsibility is. And now you're seeing general after general endorsing, if you do this, look at Kerry coming. The same United States, the same former ambassador of the U.S. to Nigeria predicted that this year, Nigeria is going to disintegrate. It is such prediction that gave Boko Haram the impetus to begin, since they predicted it's going to disintegrate.
In all fairness, they didn't say that clearly in the context
you don't have to go and read. There's a book everybody needs to read, the Confession of an Economic Hitman. Everybody needs to just look for it on Google. It's downloadable. It's free. Read the Confession of an Economic Hitman, and you see what's going on and where they are taking Nigeria to.
So Guzo
and John Kerry. You're not looking at the government at all. I feel they're
back to government.
Very passionate with what you're saying. But surely we need to look internally at our government.
Where are we going to? Where do we want to look at? Development, what they've done. 30 years, or even let's say 20 years ago, we never knew that rail transportation was possible in Nigeria. 20 years later, rail transportation is possible in Nigeria. We have about 30,000 kilometers of motorable highways in Nigeria. Under this administration, 25,000 kilometers have been done. Some were rehabilitated, some were greenfield and brownfield completed. Look at the agri sector, because they knew that the oil economy, crude oil dependency, is a sinusoidal curve. It's up to date, down tomorrow. So they started focusing on diversifying the economy, and we moved into agriculture. Before now, we are spending almost $900 million every year in importation of rice, because we consume rice a lot. Now, what we're spending is about $150 million, because our rice production, we now has moved on. We produce 65% of the rice is consumed in Nigeria is produced in Nigeria. Before now, for 40 years, we had a mafia, a cabal that were running the fertilizer distribution. Then we did the e-wallet system because to fight corruption, you fight it with institutionalized fighting of corruption, not war against indiscipline and having army soldiers in the street flogging people and making them roll in muddy water. Now you do a ring, the way you do it is a database-driven thing, but the database has to be biometric matched. So we have 8 million farmers that now get fertilizers directly from source. So that cuts off the middleman, cuts off the people that make that thing undoable. $500 million saved from that.
Mr. Ike, let me take you back a bit. We cannot stop talking about the build-up to the elections, especially with insecurity. Now, Anna mentioned clearly about the 3 states that have been worst hit by this insurgents. That's right. And then you hinted at a possible postponement of the elections, which, is causing a whole lot of stir. If you do say that there should be postponement of elections, would you also say that the elections, when eventually they do hold, if eventually they continue with all things being equal, carry on to be held on the 14th, 21st, and 28th, should they be held in Borno, Adamawa, and Yobe states?
We have to do everything possible to be sure that nobody is disenfranchised from voting. INEC should not determine, even if by the end of the day, only 40% of Nigerians voted. But let it be that 100% of the people that should vote has their ticket to vote. Bruno, everybody must have what it takes to vote. Now, your decision to come out that day is your decision. But INEC to determine, that's why I'm really at daggers drawn with them insisting that it must be this permanent voters card. Where in the world is it done? It's a temporary issue. And when we started looking into the matter, we found that, the way the layers of security they put in, because we're making a big show out of it. Oh, we have a lot of layers of security is better than whatever payment platform that anybody is using these days.
And in clear terms, you're endorsing TVC usage.
Why not? It's a temporary thing. The same data that you uploaded in the permanent voters card is in the temporary card. Is machine readable. You take it and you read it and you get the information.
Okay, so
now the reason
we have a call. We want to invite our callers in.
Additional, yes. Good morning, Additional from Ibadan. We can hear you, I believe. Hello.
Hello.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning.
You're welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Go ahead with your question.
Yes, I want to support the man in the studio. He's talking sense to Nigerians.
Anything in particular?
Which of the sense in particular? The postponement of the elections?
I think we should have people like this that should come up and say the truth. The election should hold, and there should not be violence in the whole federation.
I think that's a general statement, Additional. With all due respect, we want you to, hit on the truth that, because one of the truths that he's, standing by is a possible, shift in the elections. Is that what you're agreeing with?
Yes.
Okay, that's quite confusing. Go ahead. Additional?
Yes, I'm hearing.
Okay, so carry on. Tell us all you really want to say.
About what the man is talking in the studio, I support him wholeheartedly.
Okay, thank you.
I really want people like this to come up on the studio to say the truth to Nigerians.
Okay.
Because that's what we need in this country, for people to say the truth
and put the devil to shame. Let me just give you the last line. Thank you very much, Additional.
I guess that was
it is encouraging, to know that the right people are listening. Not people
it's a
that
thumbs up for you. Your group, you called was it Move On Nigeria? What are Nigerians meant to move on to?
I mean, from a lot of things, they are...
Pardon me one more time. We have someone who wants to ask you a question. Prince from Calabar, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
You're welcome.
Good morning. Please, sorry to see your hello.
We can hear you.
Good morning.
Go ahead. Good morning, Prince.
Okay. It's interesting though, but sorry to see your... Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, sorry to say that your guest is being political.
It's politics.
Go ahead. Go ahead. This is the season. Why do you say so, though?
He's being political. That's from my own point. Because yesterday he was on Wazobia. Today he's on. He's just being political to me. Why should they?
Oh, sorry. Did you run off or your airtime ran out? I'm not sure exactly what happened.
We should explain.
This is the season of politics. I remember, we did bring the National Publicity Secretary of the All Progressive Congress, and he did say a lot. And we had Obani Koro, and now we're having a civil society group who's, if we say he's political, I'm not sure what side he'll be on.
I swear to my God, y'all they can label me. It's good to be labeled. At least it gets you noticed. It's okay to be labeled, but there are truths we cannot run away from. I'm really concerned about this insurgency. I'm pained about the girls that were abducted, because I have 2 young daughters myself. I want to see them grow. I want to watch them get married. I want to see how much. So it's painful. But it's equally more painful when you watch America pretending to be helping, but denying us the tools we need to fight insurgency.
You seem to have a lot to say about this John Kerry's visit, especially with the arms deal.
He's just coming.
The fresh
look at
deal.
what he just did. There are things that it's just because Uncle Sam, big old Uncle Sam, so they can do. I
want you to extensively talk about this international feud and everything.
I really need to. Nigerians really need to.
Lekki, let's hear
Nigeria really needs to hear.
Hello, good morning.
Oh dear, good morning. Wow, that's bold.
Good morning.
Good morning, Israel.
Okay, good morning. Quite a show you're having.
Thank you.
We can't stop talking about our nation, Nigeria. It's unfortunate what we are having, what we are getting from present leaders and past leaders. None of them are excusable with the mess we are having in our system. Thank God for the kind of analyst that you have. He's been able to keep on with the truth, which we all want to hear. But I do not understand why U.S. representatives should be here telling us about how we should organize elections and why there must be peace in our election, when the same country has failed us where we needed them most. So it is nauseating to me as a Nigerian, because we've got a lot of people dictating for us up till now in this nation. And I think our past leaders and present leaders have brought us to this level. And I don't think it's right at all. Then on postponement of the election.
All right.
I am one person who is of the view that INEC could go ahead with this election.
Okay.
Yes, our guest has posited why the election should be postponed or whatever. But we can have a Nigerian method of solving this, because right now tempers are very high. If we postpone this election, there may be crisis. So what we could do as a panacea to not postponing the election, what we could do is organize election in all other parts of the countries where we can organize out this election free and fair.
Thank you very much, Israel. We really have to let you go at this point.
Can be concentrated on later on as a way of by-election.
Thank you. So he made very valid points.
But you've been meaning to talk about the international, exactly, U.S. in particular.
I don't want to say U.S. and maybe like Kerry said, threatened, will be denied entry into the U.S. So I'm going to zero it down on Obama's administration. So when you talk about Nigeria, either you talk about the administration of the present government, Goodluck Jonathan, or you talk about administration. So I'm not going to blanket it and say America, because it affects me too. Kerry coming here to threaten Nigerians, with visa, the schoolmaster coming with a cane. That's so petty.
Well, we can't ignore what he was asking for.
We understand.
Which is not a bad thing.
But
free and fair
who are
election
they to come? When you see the antecedents of Obama's administration and how they've related to us. In Israel are still having problem with Palestine.
Yes.
And Nigeria voted in the United Nations in support of Israel.
But shouldn't
hold on. Wait. But look at it. We voted in support of Israel, and the principle of reciprocity demands that if we voted for you, you give us the support, because it was negotiated.
Do you want a free and fair election?
No, I want. But look at the problem. Israel opted to sell us arms to fight the insurgency. America put a pressure on Israel, and Israel backed off.
So in your final words,
Nigeria bought.
in your
Nigeria
final words,
bought.
Mr.
No, hold on.
Ike, you're saying
Before we go there, Nigeria
okay.
bought some arms from from Pakistan, trying to fly it over. America puts pressure on Saudi Arabia, making them to deny us airspace to fly over
Ike,
their airspace.
you're saying that, United States, they are not really in support of us, because here today they are friends, tomorrow they are foe, talking about arms deal, which would definitely secure these elections.
Obama's administration is never the friend of Nigeria.
Very clear, and that's it where we'll drop it today. Thank you so much. It's been a very heated discussion, and we want to continue this conversation on facebook.com/CoolTV Nigeria. I want to say a big thank you to our guest, Aichido, where you can go onto their website. It's www.moveonnigeria and get to read some more. The conversation doesn't stop there. It continues on our timeline at GMNS Cool TV.